Hello, YouTube and the world. Hello, the real world. Not like the show, but the actual people. Thank you. I love that you have carrot juice. You're one of the only people who I've known who likes carrot juice, because I love carrot juice, you know? But like real carrots, not those carrots that like, you know, the bitter tasting carrots. Can we restart this? I'm just kidding. No, hello, YouTube. Welcome to understanding how to not just survive in this future, but thrive in this future. If you haven't seen the previous talk, which is how to unfuck your future, please make sure you watch that one, because that one is it's required reading before this one, because there's a lot of tie-overs between the two. But, you know, today, after that talk, so many people got scared that I was saying the sky was falling, that there was a high demand for figuring out what do we do about it? Okay, things are going wrong, and I kind of went over the different aspects of it. But today we're going to focus specifically on what do we do about this world that is going in directions which we maybe don't like. So, you know, initially it's so important to understand the concept that opportunity and adversity are two sides of the same coin, right? In markets, volatility is when money is made, right? You said you're a high frequency trader. If you have a sideways non-volatile market, it's useful to nobody. Yet if we have a non-volatile sideways world, a stable world, it's very useful to all of us. Yet market volatility and global volatility are linked together, as we're seeing now. You know, all of a sudden last night, Iran bombs Israel out of the blue. And then they just have a complete blockade, like all the dock workers leave and go on strike in the US. So now the entire eastern board is no longer receiving any supplies, right? All of this stuff is tied together. So we're going to go through the dynamics we looked at before and see how the opportunity lies within the adversity, and specifically what we can do to be the ones who benefit from this change rather than be the ones who get, you know, hit by it without expecting it. And also it's the idea of that, you know, we don't grow in times of peace and harmony and comfort. We grow during times of adversity and pain and suffering and hard times. And as much as we don't wish them upon ourselves, those are actually the times that are really worth focusing on, because the most amount of opportunity of growth happens there, in the markets or outside. So, you know, we looked at last time this idea of the exponential age, that technology and everything's changing in a way that it's becoming beyond human abilities, right? Since today we're just going to focus on the solutions of these things. Again, if you haven't seen the problems, please go back and watch the previous talk, How to Unfuck Your Future. But this transition to a network age is pretty simple. What did we do during these times? During the times of agriculture, fishery, metals, all these thousands of years when we were here. We invested in them, right? Or we built things around them. This industrial age era was a time when if you built a factory, if you built a modality of actually improving people's lives, you won out. Or at the least, you learned a skill that was as such. So now it's the same thing. Number one is, if AI, robotics, blockchain, all these things are going to take over the world, the first thing to do is just learn about them and implement them into your life, right? How powerful has it been, rhetorically speaking, of, you know, going from this journey of being an artist who was looking at AI as this scary thing that's going to take our jobs, to then learning how to make it your friend, right? And we're going to go through exactly the steps to take with integrating AI into your life. But the trends that are coming up here, that are network trends, are going to be learn about AI, learn about longevity, and learn about blockchain, specifically for me in the real world asset space. Because that is where a lot of this growth is about to happen going forward. That's literally the solution to dealing with the exponential age. Become part of the exponentialness, right? If you have a business, integrate network effects into the business. And if you're like that, you say that, but can you explain it? It's like if I'm a coach and I have a bunch of clients and I provide a service to them to improve their life, and then they leave. The way I would integrate a network effect into that business is I would take all of those clients and I would put them into a community where they can communicate with each other and they can actually heal themselves and they can share stories. Now that as that network of value grows, more and more people are helping heal each other, and therefore the value of my business grows, something like that. But at the least learning about these things, about AI, about longevity, about blockchain, and specifically in the RWA space. Then we looked at this chart. It was talking about how one of the big issues that's coming up today is that the long-term debt cycle has ended. So right here in 2008, we basically had our 1929 event. We didn't realize it. In hindsight, we can see that that's the case. From there, the money printing went crazy when the debts, when interest rates were basically zeroed out. And when interest rates get zeroed out, that's the reset of the long-term debt cycle. In simple terms, what this means is when money printing explodes, you need to have assets which explode faster than the money printing. Simple as that. You need to do something, either your business needs to grow faster, or you need to have assets that grow faster. So in simple terms, the solution to this problem is to invest in assets that outperform this money printing. That's it. If they're expanding the money supply at 8% a year, you need an asset that does better than 8% a year. If the inflation is 4% a year, then total you need an asset that does better than 12% a year. And actually in these times, expect volatility that we have not expected in the past. You see, one of the tricks that gets played on the mind is we think the world is still like it used to be when we grew up. You know, back in my day, Coke used to cost 10 cents, right? And I mean like the drinking one, not the booger sugar Coke. That was never 10 cents, okay? That's always been expensive. Expect volatility. And if you're like, what does it look like? Here's a historical example of it. Okay, this is the last time, what we're going through right now, when we're saying money printing increases, we're going through hyperinflation of currencies, also known as debasement of currencies. This is the last best example we have of the hyperinflation of a currency. This was the Weimar, the Weimar marks, right? Got it? Was that good? Oh, thank God! I got the check from the German in the room. This black line is the price of gold. Okay, in 1914 it was worth one. What's it? Deutsche Mark, right? Yeah. One Deutsche Mark was. See, I'm such a historian. I have to ask. One Deutsche Mark was 1 ounce of gold. This was the volatility that people were used to. Or this is the volatility that happened in the time before the hyperinflation happened. And this is the percentage of change of volatility that happened. So it went from 1 Deutsche Mark to 1 trillion Deutsche Marks in 9 years. Thank you. In 9 years, it went from, an ounce of gold went from 1 to 1 trillion. And yes, there was a lot of reasons for it. Yes, world wars were one of the reasons for it. But expect this same level of volatility in the new gold, which is crypto, right? It goes up by 100% and then it crashes by 5,000%. And then it goes up by 100% and then it crashes, and it goes up and it crashes. But in the end, it's going up this curve because that is how it outperforms the inflation of currencies, right? But we're not used to this kind of volatility. Just like they weren't used to this kind of volatility on gold. For the past 70 years, this wasn't the case. And in these 10 years, this happened at this rate. And the people who were still living in a world from the past 70 years just could not fathom that stuff like this would happen. Yet it did.
Sim,
yes.
Where in the chart are we at right now?
The question is, where in the chart are we at right now? We are probably here, somewhere here. We haven't even entered this chart according to my way of looking at it yet. Because this is the final leg of hyperinflation. Before that, you know, all these things happen slowly at first, and then all of a sudden. So we're still in the slowly at first. We're in the hockey sticking part of it, but on this chart, you know, this is probably the next 15 years of the dollar hyperinflating. Right? The dollar is not dying tomorrow. The dollar is killing your currency first. The dollar is going to kill every single currency in the world because they're all attached to the dollar first. The dollar actually sucks in the value of the world. So until we switch over to a fully blockchain-based system, the dollar is going to be killing things. It's not dying tomorrow, right? Now, then we looked at, okay, if money printing means our assets are not performing, then the solution is, well, if we know our assets don't perform sometimes and at other times they crush it, right? Like in crypto, we're used to this now, where you realize there's periods where crypto is the worst asset to hold. The US dollar for me is the best asset to hold during those times. There's other times when crypto is by far the best asset to hold, which now that is where we are. So this way of looking at the business cycle is one way you can, kind of navigate this space. Understand the business cycle. So at the top, so this is the ISM. This is black line is the ISM, and then this is just an upside down version of the ISM to give you a general understanding of where it's headed. Pardon? ISM is the manufacturing survey of the manufacturers. It's the PMI ISM. It's basically the manufacturing survey of the producers, and it gives you an idea if their survey is saying that they're seeing growth in the amount that they're producing, that means the economy is going to go up. You can pull it up on a trading view chart.
Is it worldwide or the US?
This one is worldwide. Actually, I don't know for sure. I'm pretty sure it's worldwide, but I can't say for sure. But this understanding is simple. At the top, sell. Don't hold here on the way down. At the bottoms, buy. Hold until the top. Sell at the tops. But another way to look at it is actually an even better perspective. You see, understanding that yes, there's this level of volatility that's happening in this world, but still it happens in a seasonal manner. And for us now, these seasons are happening on about a year's, the seasons last about a year. So it's like, we can think about it like spring, summer, fall, and winter. Spring is when we plant our seeds, our assets. Summer is when they grow. Out into fall is where we take harvest. We harvest things. And winter, we go inside, hunker down, and enjoy the fruit that we have to get until spring, right? Now this is a chart of liquidity on that same perspective. And you see, winter, things go down. Spring, they're kind of sideways. Summer, they go up. Fall, you better take a harvest because in winter, they're going to go down. Spring, this was the 2020 summer. We had a great 2020 summer. Now, when the world was ending, everybody thought everyone was going to die. What a great time in the markets. Then, hopefully, you took some profits here, which I know nobody did. I did, right here. Then we had the winter. Now we've had the spring, so on and so forth. So understanding this dynamic, understanding the liquidity dynamics and the business cycle dynamics gives you a zoomed out perspective on where in this volatile cycle we are. That's why when when we're sitting here, if you look at the previous cycle, the business cycle turned, everything was going to be fine, and all of a sudden COVID came out of the blue. I looked at this volatile world and went, okay, if I imagine that we have now entered an era where COVIDs are normal, a high volatility regime, then for us to have another high volatility event here makes a lot of sense, right? And nobody predicts it. Nobody thinks it's going to happen. But the world is cooking and the pressure cooker is about to explode and everybody's like, nah, I think it's going to be fine. I'm like, okay, let's see. Anyways, understanding this dynamic. So now we're at the bottom of a business cycle. We're in summer. Summer's not a bad time to buy, especially a flat summer like this. So then what do? We buy assets that outperform inflation. What are the assets that outperform inflation? They are crypto and technology. And technology has already had a major run, so it's going to have a nice pullback in this process. On the other side, it's going to have another run, right? Then we also looked at how the everything code says that we're likely going to go on this money printing bull run coming up. So then what do? I buy crypto, which is financial technology. I buy AI, which is intelligence technology. And I buy longevity, which is biotechnology. And if you're looking for a coin named longevity, please do not enter these markets, okay? Those are the 3 hype cycles that are coming up, okay? There's crypto, specifically RWA, real world assets. We're gonna look at that in a second. And they will benefit from this explosion in the money printing the most. They're basically the best horses to pick in the race. Then we looked at the great taking. Sim, you said they're gonna take everything. What's the solution there? 2 simple solutions. 1, make sure you custody what you have. If you don't custody it, you don't have it. In crypto, we say not your keys, not your crypto. In Russia, they say not your everything, not your everything, because they just took everything all over, overnight. The Canadian trucker protest, they were saying not your opinion, not your everything, right? So please, first of all, the thing to do here is read this book. Please just watch a 40-minute documentary, right? Please just do that, because then you will have an understanding from somebody way smarter than me exactly how these dynamics play out, and you can build your own picture from it. But my 2 best options here, 2 best solutions, is self-custody what you have. Secondly, remove leverage. Remove all leverage. And again, if you're like, what is leverage? Then you don't have leverage. But in simple terms, if you have real estate, if you have a house that's mortgaged, that's leveraged. You borrowed money to hold that real estate. The bank owns the real estate, you don't. The moment COVID happened and people weren't able to pay their rent, a lot of people lost their homes. In 2008, a lot of those same leveraged people lost their homes. So remove leverage. If you're a trader, you know how to use leverage. Curtis is over here like, remove leverage. I'm going 50x. Not you, the rest of us. Not if you're a high frequency trader and you use leverage, take all our money, please. The next thing we looked at was 5th generation warfare, which is a new state of warfare that's happening everywhere all at once. It's psychological, it's biological, it's cyber, it's economic. It is new dynamics of warfare that haven't played out in the past. So, what are the solutions? My biggest solution is perspicacity of the techniques. Once you become aware of what they're doing to you, you are officially seeing what's going on around you, so you can do something about it, right? Know what's happening, know what the different attack vectors are. And if you don't, we're gonna go through a few of them very soon. The way you participate in a 5th generation war, first of all, everybody's in the 5th generation war. This isn't one of those, there's lines and soldiers and, no. We've been in it for a long time and it's been happening live. And if 2020 happened and you did not realize that that was an act of war, you will soon, once history plays out. Us as being in this war, the simplest thing that we can do is do not get divided. The whole point is to divide us, is to convince us there's a left and a right, there's a liberal and a this, there's a white and a black, there's a gay and a straight, all that. It's all divisive. It's to turn us against us. And it's painted through this understanding of social media where you have no idea who's a bot and who's real these days. And we think people are doing this and that, but on the streets when you walk around, people are getting along. We all just get along. I don't care who you vote for. I don't care what color or what creed you are. Just be nice. Don't be an asshole, hey? So the same thing we need to follow through in this, that if we just don't get divided and remember there's only oneness, and if you haven't figured that out, you need to take some stuff that grows out of the ground. There's only oneness and operate from that place. Or, go to nature. A lot of this war is fought through technology. Go to nature. This book, 5th Generation Warfare, is written by a army general, General Flynn. And he's like, the only way to win this war is to not fight. Not fight. Just from the act of participating is the losing of the war, right? That's it. And then, if you really want to solve this thing without fighting, remember that the solution to tyranny is always build a new way. Build a new way of life in a new place with new people, with new ways of existing, new ways of relating, new ways of sharing wealth, whatever that looks like, but build a new way. It also creates the opportunity for us to build that new way. So in this war, what are some attack vectors and how do we deal with them realistically? Like actually give me the steps to do. Thank you for asking, Sim. I got you covered. So the biggest kind of attack vector is technology. It's this thing. It's our phones. So a simple way, like if you think about it, an algorithm controls everything we do. And that algorithm is run by Curtis because he's trading against us the whole time and taking all our money. Like, can you pan the camera on this guy? He's the problem. Just kidding. No, an algorithm controls our life at all points, right? So how do we stop the algorithms? Like a simple step is just turn off the notifications on your phone of certain things, right? Certain things you need, certain things you don't. The way they get you is they notify you of something that'll hook your attention. Turn off those notifications, right? Delete or hide your social media. Like I have Instagram on my phone, but it doesn't show up as an app. If you have Apple, this is like magical dreams to you. The Android people, the poor people, we can all go in and hold on, I'm explaining something. We can all go in and we can hide an app. So you have to get complicated and go into the apps and open it. Or you can delete it and you can make it so that you have to go to a website to sign up, right? Or you can put timers on it. Put a timer on an app that tells you when you've used it for 30 minutes to an hour, right? That was a joke. I have an Android. Okay, I have an Android. That's why I'm telling you this stuff. Here's one of the biggest tricks. Here's one of the like legitimately world hacks. Turn your phone to black and white. Watch what happens. To black and white. Like the displeasure of seeing your phone in black and white completely takes the dopamine away. Yeah, you'll go look at it and you'll be like, and I'm so done with this, I don't need to use it. And then when you put it back to color, you'll feel like you're a kid who hasn't had sugar for a long time and now you just, drink some Coca-Cola. I swear to God, try it. Turn it black and white, and then if you need to change it to color to see something for a moment, see it. That'll take a lot of the dopamine away. Now, a trick that's worked really well for me is I realized, okay, the social media algorithms, I can disable the apps or notifications or just not open it or limit it or whatever. YouTube is my favorite. I love YouTube. But so what I did is I went into YouTube and I turned off the watch history of YouTube. So now my YouTube is just, the algorithm can't recommend me anything. It's only the people that I'm subscribed to that I can selectively go and see. And it cuts out, and I can have a button so I can get rid of the shorts, I can get rid of all the stuff that I don't want to get distracted by, and I only see what I want to watch. That's why I'm saying, hit subscribe before you do this. Or don't. I don't care. I have like 6 subscribers. But they're all my friends. Same thing with Google history. If you turn off your YouTube history, YouTube algorithm has no effect on you anymore. If you turn off your Google history, your Google algorithm has no effect on you anymore. If you turn off the ad history, your traceability across the internet has no effect on you anymore. So now you're able to shut off the effect of all of these different algorithms and block them from being able to, change what you see and what you look at. Then you decide. Or try a dopamine detox. Anybody here done a dopamine detox? Of course not. We're in this room. Come on now. I was hoping that. It's called a Vipassana. It's probably the most terrifying thing that I can think about. Have not done it yet, for sure, but I'm recommending this. You look like you've done a Vipassana before, sir. See, you're addicted to dopamine too. I love it. But it's this idea of like putting away the technology and going away from some period of time, right? Because in this world, a simple technique is make your dopamine expensive. Make your dopamine expensive. If dopamine has become too cheap, back in the day we used to have to go buy drugs for dopamine. Those were expensive. You had to go somewhere and meet some shady guy in a alley and stuff. Or you had to go talk to a beautiful woman like in person, or you had to go play some sports, or you had to run, or you had to do something to get your dopamine. The world we live in now is the dopamine's on a button. It's become too cheap. And that cheap dopamine deals the drugs in your own head and keeps you hooked on the thing, and that is the entire process. So make your dopamine expensive. Make it difficult for you to actually go get the pleasure that you need. Oh, how about this? This is a crazy one. have human experiences. It's this weird thing, right? You go in the real world, and then you talk to real people and have fun with real people. It's next level. Now, another big piece in this process is the inner game, because this entire war, it's not being fought out there, it's being fought in here. So it's like doing the inner work and looking at yourself and reflecting upon who you are, why you exist, what it is that you're supposed to be doing, figuring out your North Star, figuring out your superpowers, figuring out your purpose in life, and aligning yourself to all of that. That inner game is the most important. And that's where things like Elevation Barn, there's 1,000 different retreats. I know you've been on this journey. We've all been on this journey of figuring out how to align with our inner mission. That goes a long way. So coaching, mindfulness, breath work, etc., all are super powerful. You're like, Sim, I thought I came here for crypto though. Like, you're telling me to meditate. Who meditates these days except for everyone, right? You meditate? Weirdo. No wonder you take all our money. He just meditates on, he's like, I'm gonna take everybody's money, and then he just presses the button and then poof, high frequency algorithm. While you're meditating, listen, that's life being figured out, okay? I mean, but that's a really serious point. Like, there are so many algorithms and ways of actually automating trading, if you know what you're doing, that you make money, you put money on autopilot. Right? And then you actually have time to meditate. So you're the one, no, seriously, you're the one staying calm in the middle of this stuff freaking out.
Yeah, you still need to supervise it.
Right, so you still need to supervise it. But you need to have the skills to do it, right? It's not like everybody can just walk up to a button and make a bunch of money. But it's the fact that you spent all this time learning about this world, that you learned how to deploy an algorithm and then to understand how to use it to your benefit, right? And that is, when we're saying learn AI, learn all these things, one way to learn it is that. It's like figure out how to use algorithmic and AI trading to be able to make money, if that's your perspective. But specifically with crypto, right? This is where we get into the juicy bits. Specifically with crypto, my process has been to okay, so now you understand that all this stuff's happening in the world. The world is becoming much more volatile. Money printing is going crazy, so we have to go into an asset that is better on the upside than the money printing, but that also means it crashes harder than the money printing. So how do we navigate that? The way to navigate it is to build a strategy, a plan, right? And this is what I've been doing for the last 4 years, is how do we build a plan that incorporates all these things we just talked about, right? So that's where your gift comes in. If you watched 32 minutes of this, really appreciate it, okay? For you, we have a gift. You can go to this website, cryptowealthprotect.com. I have taken my entire strategy, which people have paid me thousands of dollars for, and I've made it free with all the secrets. And right below that, there's a download my strategy button that if you click that, you will get this PDF. So if you just watch this hour 23-minute thing, which is the entire strategy masterclass, and fill out this PDF, you will have your own strategy on how to participate in the crypto space for free. If you do that, if you bring a fully filled out PDF, you can message me and I'll jump on a call with you for an hour to go through your life and help you strategize this as a gift from me, as a thank you for doing your homework, okay? But the way to really like navigate the space is, one of the key seminal pieces is doing a wealth plan for yourself, like a wealth planning exercise. You can find this inside of this PDF as a link. You can literally get this same template and you'll be able to go in and change things around. One of the things that I don't understand why nobody in the world does this. You go to a financial planner and they don't draw your life out like this. I don't know if I'm the only one who loves this, but what we do here is we break down your assets into property, stocks, commodities, revenue streams, and cash. Shh, children, are we watching? This is what happens when you get ADD kids in the room, you know? I know you love that. Every single time she's like, she saw this last time, she's like, oh my God, the rainbow. And I was like, where's the rainbow? And she's like, it's a hidden rainbow in there, okay? But it's a beautiful representation of like, okay, what property do I have? How much of it is on, how much of it has leverage? Is it on mortgage? Is it my property or is it the bank's property? Where does it sit? Is it commercial? Is it residential? What stocks do I have? Is it a bunch of, retirement savings or is it actual equities? What performance do they have? How much gold, silver, commodities, physical things do I have? One of my favorite things is how many ways do I make money? Because in this world that we're moving into, having one way to make money is one of the best ways to get hit, right? You need to be able to generate income in multiple different ways. But at the least, just look at, okay, maybe I have a business. Maybe I have rental income coming in from these properties. Maybe I have some other stuff. But have a clear picture of how much cash you have coming in and from which sources, how much you have sitting on the sidelines, then looking at, okay, how much is in crypto? And from there, you actually strategize, how can I shift those things around, right? Because people think sitting in real estate is still the way to get rich. No, sitting in real estate is one of the ways to not get rich. Sitting in gold is one of the ways to barely break even, but probably not. Sitting in equities, if you're sitting in something like the S&P 500, that's the way to just stay in place, hopefully, as long as they don't hyperinflate the currencies further. Now, if you're sitting in technology, if you're sitting in NASDAQ, if you're sitting in, MicroStrategy stock or Coinbase stock, then we're talking a different game. But having an understanding of like, okay, this I consider to be, it's not even low risk anymore, it's high risk for low returns. So if I'm sitting on a house or I'm sitting on a bunch of property thinking, making $2,000 rental income a year on a $400,000 house, that's going to take me $2,000 a month. It's going to take me 400 months to make my money back, and in that time the hyperinflation will be at a whole different place, right? But understanding how do I shift this around, and how much risk do I take, and how much risk is unhealthy to take. And then my core focus tends to be on this. How do I make more money? One of the simplest solutions is make more money, because we're moving to a world that's the have-nots and the have-yachts. And we have 6 years to make as much money as you like. This is, Raoul Pal says the same thing. He's like, we have 6 years to get as rich as possible. After that, economics as a concept shifts. As robotics come in, as AI comes in, as all these things come in. So this exercise is probably one of the main pieces that I would start with. But again, I'll guide you in the webinar on how to do all this stuff. But then we look at, okay, like, what is this cryptocurrency thing? Why does anybody want it? Why is it even worthwhile? You asked about the valuations, right? The reason why crypto valuations are so far beyond equity valuations is because crypto is technology that's built for the future, right? It's the next stage of the internet. That's the reason why it's valuable. In the previous internet, we had hooked up computers in these companies hooked up computers in one place. Those computers did amazing things. And as the users' networks grew, the value of the networks grew, and the companies got all the money. And the users became the products. In this new world, we're hooking up computers not just in one place, we're hooking them up all over the world, right? And that makes, so instead of like this, like that, we are decentralizing the computers. Many people are hooking up computers everywhere that still run the internet, that still run apps, that still do the same stuff. But instead of Google owning all the money, the people running the computers get some of the money. But in this world, we paid with dollars. In the centralized world, we paid with dollars. In this world, we pay with coins. Because these computers run algorithms that require these coins to pay to run those computers. So internet was a computer. Blockchain is just a new way of hooking up computers. This next stage of the internet, the same way that when we looked at the valuations of internet companies pre-2000 bubble, they were insane. They just got blown out like crazy and then they all reset. Same thing's happening in the blockchain space. Most of these technologies haven't been deployed yet, but they're being overvalued. But they're also being priced at prices which are taking into consideration the future hyperinflated versions of the currencies. That's why a dog with like ears on it became worth $91 billion last time. Ford is worth $50 billion after 100 years of operating. So understanding, what is it? It's a bunch of computers we hook up in a different way. These computers are running this accounting book. And this accounting book keeps track of how many coins each person has. And that's what we call the ledger. That's all it is. Like Bitcoin is one of the most useless technologies. If you just look at the technology itself, it's a bunch of computers that burn a bunch of power just so that this thing can pop into existence called a Bitcoin. And the only thing it does is that it's just an entry into a book. We're burning 1% of like the world's power supply or something just to make sure that there's this one entry in this one book. And the only thing it does is it pays for the ability for me to change the entry in the book into somebody else's name. Right? But in this world, that becomes super powerful. And we're not going to go too deep into that. But it's an accounting book with coins inside. And those computers run apps, just like the normal apps. We just haven't gotten to the point of seeing the apps being developed. Like we're developing one called FarmScent. FarmScent. It's an app that connects farmers directly with wholesalers who need to buy it, sends them the supply, and farmers get paid more. And the farmers will have no idea that they're using blockchain or any of this stuff. But understanding what it is, understanding that there's money printing coming up. That's why we're buying this stuff now, because it's cheap. Understanding, like we did with the business cycle, that the business cycle is bottoming out, it's a good time to get involved. Also, in this, you'll have a bunch of AI coaches. Okay, there's literally a coach, like crypto coach Sim, where you can just go and ask him 1,000 questions, and the same coaching that you would get from me or some multi-$1,000 consultant, you'll get for free. Trust me, I've had so many conversations with this guy, he knows me better than I do. Then we look at, okay, perplexity AI. We're going to go into the AI side of things, but it's basically, this process is, okay, what is crypto? What are my goals in participating in crypto? What does risk mean in the crypto space, and why do I want to take these risks, right? What does risk specifically mean for me? How much should I invest? And everybody always says, invest what you're willing to lose. I think that's an idiotic way to manifest things. It's like live as much as you're willing to die. It's like, no. Invest what you don't need for the next 4 years, and you won't need to touch it, something like that. But I'll guide you through all this stuff here. Then you look at the risk of what you're doing and how much risk you want to take in different spaces. Then we look at exchanges and where to do it. And then we get down to, picking the cryptos, picking the places, all that stuff. But if anything, this is why everybody keeps getting screwed. Because our minds get tricked at the wrong time to do the wrong thing. There's a psychology game that's being played inside of our heads, and this is all part of this world that we're moving into. And you're going to get full training on this in the actual webinar that explains how this plays out, right? But understanding all of these dynamics then gets us to the point which everybody wants me to get to. I know, you just watched for like 45 minutes. You're like, get to the point, Sim. Tell me what to buy. No. At this point, we look at the actual hottest narratives to buy, right? That's going to be layer ones. For me, it's layer ones, deepen, AI, and real world assets. And if you're like, most of this stuff doesn't make sense, welcome to the crypto world. But in simple terms, layer ones are literally the computers that are hooked up, right? So when we're buying a layer one, we're buying a coin to use the computers. AI is, the way we participate with it is infrastructure that AI will need in the future, right? That's also what deepen ends up being. Deepen is decentralized physical infrastructure networks. That means physical stuff that is hooked up in a network that somebody will need in the future to do something valuable. Like when you think about AI, what is AI? Like physically in the world, what is it? It's a bunch of graphics cards that are running a calculation hooked up to a bunch of storage that holds a model and a bunch of data. So you need data storage, you need graphics cards to process all this stuff. That's what deepen is. That's also how you invest in AI. So within the crypto space, looking at deepen, looking at layer one investments, and looking at AI investments will give you the most likelihood of success going forward. But for me, the most valuable piece of this entire transition, this whole thing we're talking about, is RWA, is real world assets. Because all the wealth in the world sits in, I'll take that back. A lot of the world's wealth sits in real world assets. Real estate, bonds, stocks, businesses, all these things. All of that is going to be transitioned to this crypto world, to this crypto space. In that transition, you will have the opportunity to buy these things while they're cheap. And I know $90 billion doesn't sound cheap, but you know, the crypto kids, that's not much, right? So then figuring out, okay, which one of these things makes sense to me? How many of them do I buy? If you can buy less than 5, you get a gold star. Okay? But again, we're going to go through all of these details together. And then looking at, you know, how to enter, how to look at taxes, how to go look at security, all that stuff. Am I putting you to sleep yet? You look like you were going to sleep, but you're jet lagged. Okay, so now just to recap, we've gone through the entire journey of, okay, the world is going through a transition. The exponential age is making things go bananas. The money printing is going crazy. The volatility is going crazy. You asked the question, how is this process going to go? Very quickly. Very quickly. Between now and 2027 is going to be the entire game. And I mean, a completely new financial system, a completely new global one world order, completely new structuring in the way that countries interact with themselves, completely at least broken supply chains that we'll need to rebuild, a new way of doing, a new internet that's immunized with digital ID and social credit scores, with central bank digital currencies, with programmable money. And then by 2032, all of that gets connected to carbon credits, where money and carbon credits will become one thing, which means that if I want to eat a steak, I will need to buy the carbon it took to generate the steak, right? How much carbon did it cost to raise the cow and, you know, transport it to my table? That amount of carbon priced on global markets is what I will need to buy to have a steak. That'll happen by 2032. But these digital ID, all these systems are going to pivot around a massive world event that is coming up. Very likely to be something like a mutating AI cyber attack. That's what my money's on. What's gonna happen? I don't fucking know. Like, I'm making bets like everybody else. But just the way, looking at history, looking at 5th generation war, looking at all these things, and I'll be honest, being in certain rooms, listening to certain things happen, you realize that's probably the one fell swoop that makes all of this stuff happen. Now, in the middle of this, it's also really important to keep in mind that the world doesn't work the way that it used to. Everything we know about how the world used to work does not apply in a very significant manner. Like we were talking about, you know, you're trading, everything's working, everything's good. And all of a sudden, everything changes. And now the same algos and the same philosophies are not working. Now all of a sudden the world changed. And it's such a coincidence that like it happens in alignment with, you know, some missiles going off somewhere. And like this, it's a little weird. So my, I don't know, conspiracy tinfoil hat perspective on it is that the world is already run by AI. It's been run by AI for a long time. The markets are hyper controlled by AI. You know, there's I forgot who mentioned it. They were talking about volatility control mechanisms built into the markets, which are shadow monetary banking entities that have tons of liquidity that are there to make sure the markets don't just fall off of a cliff like they've done a few times, where out of the blue the algorithms freaked out and we just had like a flash crash. And what they do is they basically make the markets behave in ways that they shouldn't naturally, right? And that like now, as the billionaires are exiting, as all the big institutions are dumping, markets are making all-time highs, and everybody, the economy is completely going to shit, but the markets are going one way. The dynamics of how markets move are being manipulated by artificial intelligences, right? So here's a whole bunch of valuable information of how we use AI in our businesses. Because right here, right now, the biggest opportunity is just to use AI. Like, use AI as much as you can. How many people here use AI? All right. That's an AI. Okay, so we got 80% of the room, well, me included, 90% of the room use AI. Boom. Okay, perfect. So let's get that number up a little bit. Because all you have to do is align with the future for you to be one of the boats that gets raised, right? With AI, just learn how to deploy AI in your business and in your life. And here's a bunch of pro tips, okay? There's an AI called Perplexity. Perplexity is an AI that goes and searches things on the internet and gives you sources. One of the problems with AI is that it's hard to tell why it's telling you what it's telling you. So we say, what happened yesterday geopolitically that caused the markets to freak out? It'll go search the internet and it'll give you the best breakdown of what happened. So it's saying Iran's missiles attacks on Israel, and then there was a market reaction. S&P dropped. Concerns over oil prices did that. And then there's broader economic implications. Fantastic. Now I have a clear understanding of what's going on, right? And it's giving me sources. It says, from this source, I pulled this. From this source, I pulled that. So you can do your due diligence on figuring out what it's telling you. Perfect. Now, if I have something like that, then I would go to something like ChatGPT, but the new ChatGPT that just came out, ChatGPT 01. You have to subscribe to talk to this one. But it has reasoning skills. And with this thing, you can have a nuanced discussion about what you would see as the future. So I would, go to Perplexity. I would copy what it gives me, because those are the facts, and I say, I usually voice type, but okay. I want you to help me build an investment strategy as a crypto investor. Here is the current market update or current situation. My first request is to give me advice on how this can apply to my crypto investments. Remember, this thing doesn't have updated information on the internet. It doesn't have the same kind of ability to source things as Perplexity. So we use the sources from Perplexity, we hand it to it, it goes down, and it writes me, okay, well, there's increased market volatility, which means, they cause problems in the crypto markets as well. Investor behavior changes. The correlation with traditional markets, could be an issue. Bitcoin is thought of as digital gold, but it's not really a safe haven, so it's probably going to get hit during these kind of volatility events. In the past, whenever we've had, these kind of same issues, there could be problems showing up in the crypto space. It's saying diversify. Maybe you transition to certain stable coins. So there's a nuanced kind of discussion you can have with it, and you can go through and ask it more questions about all these things. So it's like a friend you can bounce things off of, right? Now, this is just a general ChatGPT. If you go to the crypto sim coach, he's set to describe it to you like you're 5. Right? Let's try that. Yeah, of course. I made my own coach. I just hope this link works because I remember I reset this thing. All right, it works. So now I go over here and I copy what I said over here. By the way, pro tip, if you want to copy something, you click at the very bottom, scroll to the very top, hold shift and click, and it copies the whole thing. Pro tips all day. Okay, boom. Now, this thing knows the strategy. It knows how to build the strategy. It knows how to advise you on the strategy. Okay? So there you go. It's giving you a similar thing. Okay, so it's specifically telling you Bitcoin is a safe haven. Investors might turn to it as a hedge, but we could see an upwards trend in Bitcoin when this happens, right? Which means that volatility could be the thing that actually makes it pump. You could go to stable coins for stability. Altcoins might see significant downturns during these kind of geopolitical tensions. That's good to know. Blah, 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 right? So now we took reliable source information from one AI, Perplexity, and we fed it to another AI to give us an analysis, or we fed it to a coach to give us an analysis. And the same thing, if you're somebody who's like I remember you were working on a business plan, right? And you needed long form, comprehensive understanding and long form writing. That's where Claude comes in. Claude is the best AI for us to do that kind of work. And specifically right now, Claude 3 Opus. Claude 3 Opus is the best at understanding large pieces of data, which could be a big write-up you do or a report or something like that. And then writing out long form, nuanced pieces. It's very good at reasoning as well. So this way of integrating the AI into different things is super powerful. Another cool little trick that Cyril just mentioned the other day, thank you Cyril, hopefully you're watching this far, but you're probably not because you've heard me talk about all this stuff all the time, but now you will because I'll tell you about this. But anyways, the point is, you can literally take ChatGPT, you can put it on the voice setting, you can put it down in a meeting and you can say, please keep listening until I say ChatGPT do something. Until then, just listen, right? And then you can have a conversation with people and it will understand every single thing that you're talking about. And then you can go, oh yeah, that's a good point. Hey, ChatGPT, can you do a market analysis on what this specific thing would be? And then you go back to talking and it'll do the analysis, it'll populate the information. You go, thank you so much, continue listening. And you have this artificial intelligence that sounds like her, remember? I was like, it's a little scary. I remember I pulled it up one time and I turned it on, it's a girl's voice and she's like, who is that? I was like, her name is GPT and she loves me too, you know, and she's my friend. And so, okay, so now you have these different AIs. You probably have businesses you're running. You probably have things you're doing that take up a lot of time. Me teaching these different things to the people in my life and my businesses has been super powerful. So here's a few core techniques to use. The first thing to do is tell the AI what character you want it to play. It's called a character prompt. So you say something like, this voice not working is really bugging me. One second. We'll do the questions afterwards because there's no mic. Otherwise, like it doesn't pick it up. Yeah. You say, you are a. What do we need help with? What does somebody need help with right now? You're a mental health coach or a relationship coach. Here you go. You're a relationship coach that works with high performers. High performers who can't type. Yeah. I'm a workaholic. My wife is leaving. What can I do? Or you can say like, my wife is leaving because our communication doesn't work anymore. Okay, so what we did there is we gave it a character to play. You are an expert in XYZ. I'm going, here's context around what's happening. And my request is for you to do this one thing. You ask it one question. I don't even know what it's saying. Okay, it's telling you to set boundaries at work, improve your communication, stuff like that. But I'm sure nobody's going to do this, are they? Because they're like, I'm not listening to an AI and tell me about stuff. I'm going to ruin my relationship. Okay, cool, no problem. Like, feel free to do that. Well, that's the thing. That's a really good point. It's like you get the AI to communicate with your wife. And the world is coming where your AI and her AI will fight. Communicate. That's what we're calling it, communication, right? But, okay, let's imagine a more impactful use case. Not impactful, I'm just kidding. Like, relationships are pretty impactful. But, something like, I want you to act as a crypto analyst and give me, I want you to act as a crypto analyst. That is the character. I'm looking at XRP as a potential coin. Give me a detailed breakdown of what it is and anything you need to tell me as my crypto advisor. Right, and I would put this to ChatGPT 01 preview. The great thing about this one is it's going to think, it's going to strategize, it's going to ask itself questions, it's going to gather the info, it's going to understand the definition, it's going to do a whole bunch of work that you would normally have to ask, and it's going to go through the reasoning process of why it thinks what it thinks. Right? And this is where you can ask it questions like, but yeah, why is it worth $20 billion today? Done, right? I'm not going to go through this. You can obviously understand that there's thousands of things, but let's ask it that. But why is it worth 20 billion when an equity of that size would need large profits? I'm interested in learning this answer too. For a publicly traded company, market capitalization is calculated by multiplying the stock price by the number of outstanding shares. For a cryptocurrency, market cap is calculated by multiplying the current price of a single coin or token by the total circulating supply. Okay, well, that's obvious. Well, it doesn't give me anything specific that makes it. Okay, there we go. So it's like, it's not just the ownership of a company, it's the utility of the company itself. What's the potential addressable market, right? XRP's potential total addressable market is in the hundreds of trillions of dollars of value that can flow across it. But you can do a deep dive into what it is and why it is what it is, key considerations, risks associated with valuations. So you can have a deeper understanding of why things are the way that they are. The final way you can not get fucked in the future is just make crypto part of your corporate treasury. If you have a company, it's very simple to hold crypto on your balance sheet. Well, simple enough, depending on which jurisdiction you're in. Put crypto onto the balance sheet. That's why companies like MicroStrategy have bought billions of dollars of crypto, and they've gone along for the journey. Or if you're in a retirement savings account, self-manage it and expose it to crypto by getting into different ETFs that are backed by Bitcoin, or companies like Coinbase and MicroStrategy and miners that are exposed to the crypto space. Okay. Now, final thoughts, because we've already gone long, is, again, if this was such a rapid fire way of going through this, that if you just take one of these pieces and deploy it, it'll change your life. But if right here, right now, I had to do one thing, I would just say the greatest bull run is ahead of us. And it's very likely, not 100% sure, that there will be a great buying opportunity coming up due to the volatility in the world. In that opportunity, I would have my strategy done, and I would know what I'm gonna buy, and I would take some amount of money and I would buy these assets with it. Because I've seen exposures of 5% be enough to basically match the net worth of the person themselves in these bull runs. In English, that means there's a great buying opportunity coming up, probably the last one that we get to see before this bigger kind of event plays out, and participate in that and ride it up on the way up. And then, you know, your inner focus, your outer focus, your asset focus, all of those things coming as secondary. So that's it. Now we're going to go into a town hall, not a Q&A, but a town hall. Thank you.